Dante Alighieri was born in the Republic of Florence, in what is now Italy, around 1265 CE, and destined to become not only Italy's greatest poet, but also a global icon. Centuries after Dante's death, another great poet, T.S. Eliot, would claim that all Western literature existed in the shadow of just two giants, Shakespeare and Dante. Indeed, Dante's Divine Comedy, a vast work with a simple structure packed with brilliant similes, is recognized as one of the greatest poems ever written in the West. So rich in cultural, religious, philosophical, and historical detail, it can also effectively be used as a framework for studying life in Middle Ages Europe. The Divine Comedy comprises 14,233 lines, divided into 3 sections, each of 33 cantos: Inferno or Hell, Purgatorio or Purgatory, and Paradiso or Paradise. In a culture still writing plays in only 2 genres, it was designated comedy because it told of the Christian afterlife and ended happily. So was the opposite of Greek tragedy. To summarize the plot, a man called Pilgrim is lost in the woods of error and is persistently blocked from making his way back to the path by 3 fierce beasts. He is rescued by the shade or ghost of the poet Virgil, author of the Aeneid, who then accompanies him and gets him back on track. But this hero's journey takes a very roundabout path, as first Virgil, then a spiritual lady called Beatrice, guides Pilgrim down, and much later, eventually, up. For Virgil guides him through hell, then purgatory, before Dante's visionary lady Beatrice takes over to lead Pilgrim through the 9 spheres of heaven to finally see God. We'll survey only the first section, Inferno, where Virgil and Pilgrim explore hell, which is described as a series of concentric ledges spiraling down to the Earth's center. Though a Christian tale, Virgil explains that the pagan philosopher Aristotle's categories of evil, in his famous book Ethics, in fact correspond to hell's topography. This reveals Inferno as a daring intellectual work, placing Aristotelian philosophy and reason, as personified by Virgil, on an equal footing with Christian theology and faith. In an unconventional twist, Dante shows Christians and pagans doing time together in hell, in whichever of the descending circles their specific deeds have landed them. Innovatively, the poet uses hundreds of everyday images to help readers picture fantastic exotic landscapes Pilgrim enters, creating a new popular style of epic simile. Examples include comparing the voices of the trapped souls of those who suicided with the sounds fizzing sap makes when a green log is tossed into a fire, and the frenzied laments coming from hell's antechamber sound to Pilgrim like sand spiraling in a whirlwind. Again, much simpler language than in Homeric epic similes. The specific prison each soul endures is shown as both a punishment and a personification of their damning sin, such as lustful lovers ever whirling in a dark wind. Dante allows many of the damned characters Pilgrim meets to tell their side of the story, sharing the passions and motives behind the mistakes that sentence them to hell. This ingenious device allows the poet to make over characters from earlier literature, giving us flawed, realistic people we can now get to know, instead of remote epic heroes. For example, the made-over cast of damned lovers includes Helen of Troy and Paris from the Iliad, Dido from the Aeneid, and tragic historical figures Paolo and Francesca. Dante poses a moral or philosophical challenge through these characters by showing that they've sinned, so deserve hell, but also influencing us to deeply empathize with them. Part of the lasting appeal of the Divine Comedy is its fascinating contradictions. It's a fantasy, yet also a medieval encyclopedia covering Middle Ages thinking and belief systems. It's a comedy because of its mixed style and positive ending, but also a giant allegory, an extended metaphor in which everything unreal in it has some real-world parallel. And finally, it's truly an epic poem, but one in which the hero is not any kind of king, warrior, patriot, lover or schemer, but a spiritual hero laboring to find God. Dante's Inferno, with its poetic complex tour of human failings, can be read and enjoyed equally as a great tale with riveting characters and sub-stories, or as philosophy. For when Virgil is Pilgrim's guide, he speaks for the Roman Empire, enabling Dante, through this traveling duo's discussions, to allegorize complex political theory. And when Pilgrim is in the care of Beatrice, with a connection to the Virgin Mary, the poet explores the relationships between divine grace, revelation, and human reason. Such depth and richness of content has helped make this masterwork of Dante Alighieri one of the most studied, visually depicted, and universally honored milestones of Western literature.
If you found that descent into the underworld, along with Dante's Pilgrim, a fascinating trip, then you'll likely enjoy the original journey, in the hands of Virgil himself, in our episode 6.